Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We have fairs throughout the Northwest. Right now we're in Seattle, Portland, Eugene, and Salem. And we interview our practitioners, our readers, healers, and vendors who get a chance to know who we are before you come to an event. So I'm here today interviewing Deborah Forrest. So Deborah, tell us a bit about you and what you share at our events.
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and doing this interview. When I come to the events, I bring my intuitive abilities with medical intuition and energetic healing, helping people heal on a physical or spiritual or emotional level. And I just allow what comes through to help them, allowing them to shift where things need to be shifted, moving things that aren't useful. The terms good and bad are kind of awkward. It's not necessarily something that's good or bad. It's just whatever isn't useful at that moment, helping them to shift that. When I tune into someone, I allow myself to focus on them and then sort of drop into the heart and just allow to come through whatever comes through. Whatever my attention goes, I trust that. And I know that that's where I'm supposed to be focusing. Even if we may not understand it, you may say, for example, that your knee hurts and my attention goes to your hip. I trust that. And then I begin to get information and I'll tell people what I see, allowing things to shift, moving things back to where they want to be, helping people get to where they want, more in a state of balance as opposed to imbalance.
Could you say a little bit more about a state of balance compared to imbalance? What is?
Being in balance is where we're meant to be. All of us, we're symmetrical, and we have these linear and vertical symmetries, and the body wants to be in balance. All the chakras want to have the same amount of energy. The left and right sides are supposed to be equal, but no one ever is. I mean, we all kind of have differences. And when the body, it moves to a place that isn't useful, or it accommodates an injury or something, we end up out of balance. For example, if someone's afraid or tense or anxious, they're going to bring their shoulders in. They're going to tighten up, and they don't breathe as well. So by allowing those shoulders to relax and allow them to breathe, it helps everything. If you're tightening up like this because you're anxious or nervous or scared, this is a visceral response. And then we breathe shallowly or not at all. And once we can relax that, everything relaxes. So sometimes I'll work on something that's conscious and physical, saying, okay, breathe. Telling people just to simply breathe, and then work energetically to release the tension that, let's say, that's in the shoulders. And I allow them to describe to me how it feels, because some people will say, it feels like there's a knot in my shoulder, or it's twisted, or it's frozen. Well, if it's a knot, let's untie it. If it's twisted, let's untwist it. If it's frozen, let's thaw it. So working that way, it also brings in other skills and things that I use. For example, with neurolinguistic programming, I listen to the way people express things, and that tells so much about them. There's a difference between a frozen shoulder and a knot. And knowing that, it really makes a difference, because then you can visualize it. Then you can imagine it. So that helps to relax that. Yes.
Well, it's great. I say people share so much wisdom in their words, and they don't always realize to pay attention to those. And so it totally can be the doorway in to help someone change something.
Yeah. A lot of times people don't realize that they perpetuate a pattern of something that they don't want through their words. And if I can bring it to their attention in a gentle, humorous way, because laughing is so much more fun. If I can bring it to their attention, they're usually very pleased. And it's like, oh, gee, I didn't know I was saying that. Because they'll get used to something hurting or being out of alignment. And then by saying that's just my whatever it is and accepting it as normal, they're perpetuating it. Mm-hmm. Instead, we can begin to focus on changing their words. So there's a lot of different aspects to helping someone get back to their state of balance or ease as opposed to dis-ease. Mm-hmm. Listening to their words and getting them to change the way they say it. And by changing the way they say it, they're reinforcing the shifts that we've made and rewiring their subconscious to head towards what they want as opposed to what they don't want.
Yeah. So there's so many ways that you practice with people at a fair. How do you choose what you do with someone?
It's really what they say and where I'm guided. And I also do work with animals, so what they say doesn't enter into it. But if somebody comes in, they may say, I'm anxious, or I feel out of balance, or do you ask me if I balance chakras? Because they know that they want that done. Or maybe they want to change a behavior. Maybe they do something like they bite their nails, or they want to lose weight and they have a problem stopping eating cookies or potato chips, something like that. What can we do some things are very easy or simple. Some things are working with hypnotherapy or just changing, again, the way they say things. Another way, if somebody wants to eat less cookies or potato chips, move them and don't buy them at Costco. Animals, they're wonderful to work with because there's no pretense. Sometimes people will say one thing but mean another, conscious or unconsciously.
Well, would they come in with a question about an animal, or do they come in with a question and you can sense that an animal is part of that, or how does that happen?
Usually they ask about the animal. They will come in and say, can you help me with my cat? For example, cat or dog or horse. One person had 3 cats. 2 of them she got at a shelter. They were fine. They were happy, normal cats, as normal as cats can be, as strange as they are, wonderfully strange. But one cat had been rescued. It was her father's and was now hers, and it had been feral. So it was feral for the first year or so of its life. Now, the other 2 cats used to be really sweet, and they would love on her and mush on her, and they'd sleep with her, and she could pet them and pick them up. But this feral cat wanted nothing to do with her, and she was worried. Is this cat happy? What's going on? I'm doing everything I'm doing with the other cats. Why isn't he reacting to me the same way? So I tuned into the cats, and I realized that the reason that this feral cat was acting the way it did was because when it was young, it had one thing on its mind: survival. How do I eat? Where can I stay? How do I avoid being attacked? And so when this cat was in a room by itself, which it was, it felt wonderfully safe. So that's what it wanted. It didn't need to be around people. All it wanted was the quiet and the safety and the solitude. Whereas the other cats that had been brought up around people were much more familiar with people and loved being around them. So once she understood that and how this cat felt, and knowing it felt safe and happy, that made her feel better. So in working with animals, inevitably, I'm also working with their people. I did have one dog once. Someone wanted me to look at their doggie, and this is always at distance with animals. And I asked the doggie, who I had met before, I said, would you like some help? And he said no, and he kind of turned very cat-like, turned away. And I said, well, what's wrong? And he said, I want my mommy. And all he wanted was his mother to come home and mush on him and play with him. That's what he needed. So it was very cute.
It's great. I love how all the messages come through. It's great.
Yeah. I never know what the animals are going to tell us either.
That's great. How did you start doing this work? And it may have been different things at different times, or how did that all happen for you?
Yeah. And it was different things at different times. As a kid, I was able to sense things in people. If somebody would complain about their hip hurting, I would get a sense of what was going on with that. I could sort of see it. Seeing isn't necessarily the right term, but I could get a sense of it. And I remember saying something to someone and learning very quickly, most people can't do that. So I stopped. And then quite a few years ago, a lot of years ago, somebody was talking about that, and I tentatively started to discuss it and managed to talk to somebody who did understand that. They recommended I take Reiki. And I studied Reiki. I was in Sedona, and I learned Reiki and practiced with that for many years. So that was a really good introduction to energetic healing, putting into practice the intuitive ability that I had. Then about 10 years ago or so, I learned matrix energetics, which is faster, it's more intuitive and more fun. Reiki is a wonderful, slow, methodical way of healing. And it's really great, but I just get impatient. So I like Matrix because it's faster and it's it moves really quickly. And I also learned hypnotherapy and neurolinguistic programming, and all of those things work together to help people heal, to help them become the person they want to help them overcome things, whether it's an energy block, whether it's a bad habit. All of them come into play, and it's really, really wonderful. Now, at an event, I don't do hypnotherapy because I want them to be able to lay down and relax, and it's not really conducive to that. But if we're doing an event, then I can do energetic healing and NLP with people or with pets.
That's great. If people want to find more about you online or connect with you online, where do they go?
Well, they can email me at Deborah Forrest, that's Forrest 11 at gmail.com, or they can call me or text 206-372-9930. And I do have a website for hypnotherapy, that's harmonyhealthhealing.com. And I will soon be setting up a Facebook page that's going to work with all of the energetic work that I do, so more to come.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So welcome. And everybody watching and listening, you can find out more about us at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. We look forward to seeing you in person. Bye-bye.